think I graduated in March and I deployed in September. So
So what is that, about
not
six
long,
months? Yeah. And
something like that.
is this going back to Iraq?
Yes. After that, my next two deployments as a sniper were both in Fallujah.
And let's talk about that a little bit. A lot of the people watching this, really young, maybe weren't even alive when the Iraq War started. Certainly, many of them weren't old enough to remember it. And I want to dig into that because you're the first sniper from Iraq that I've ever interviewed. So, what was it like being on the ground in Iraq in a sniper's role? Just give us a brief overview of what that entails.
Well, for my first deployment as a sniper, I was attached out permanently to one of the companies in the battalion's AO. And so we were just south of the city across the bridge. I believe it was called Fob Black. And it's kind of like being thrown into a city full of people that don't speak your language, of a different culture, given guns and saying, hey, go find the enemy. We didn't know where they were. And so the only indicators that we had to work off of is, where are they blowing people up at? And it's the major highways or the major intersections or things like that. And so I had a four-man sniper team at the time, and it was, they're setting IEDs along this road in this section. I was like, okay, I will go out there and try to keep an eye on that road. We did a lot of Overwatch and a lot of just hunting people putting in IEDs and trying to catch them do that, because they weren't interested in a gunfight. And
Right.
who blames them, right? Like, we have all the resources. We've got air assets. We've got 50 cals, rockets. Like, you're stupid to get into a gunfight with us when you have the option to just push a button, blow us up, and walk home and live another day. And so that's what they did. And as a sniper, it was real frustrating to try to catch these guys and figure them out, because they're small towns, they're villages. Everybody knows everybody. And so, yeah, I would live in the village with them for usually about a week at a time. I'd pick a number of houses that had visibility of that portion of the road and take a turn and knock on the door and live with the family for, a couple of days, and then move around and try to find another one. And, you tell them, don't tell anybody. You try to keep quiet. You try to keep your head down. But anytime there's a change in the pattern of life, the neighbors know, right? And so, um, I don't know how covert we actually were. Probably not very, but that's what we
And,
did. And
and were the families like, were they receptive? Like, were they okay with you living in their home? Did they put up a fight? Like, how did that all work?
for the most part, they were open to it. I think partly because they didn't have an option. But I tried to build relationships with them, because I'm not into having my throat cut in my sleep either. And
Right.
so I would talk to them. I took a Arabic dictionary. I became the translator in my team, and was pretty proficient at speaking Arabic at the time, and find out what they needed. They always need money, right? And so I would carry a couple $100 each mission, and pay them for letting us stay or feeding us. That was a big one. They'd always feed us, which was super nice, and they don't have much. But medications was a big one. Just bringing them a bottle of Advil like brought tears to their eyes, because they don't have access to that, or they didn't at the time. And so pain management, one of the guys at the houses that I stayed at pretty regular had either a clubbed foot or some type of an injury, and could hardly walk. And so I would bring him pain medication and would sit up and just talk to them, and get to know them. And they were just like us. They were just like everybody else. Once, when people are looking, they're all doing their five daily prayers. And when nobody's around, he's asking for nudie magazines and cigars, right?
Right.
So it's no different.
I've interviewed some people that talk, when they talk about Iraq, they really talk with kind of great sympathy for the general population of Iraq. And they felt like they kind of got thrown into a situation that wasn't their fault, but they just got caught because of Saddam. Sounds like you kind of feel the same way, that these weren't bad people. The bad guys were the bad guys, but the general Iraqi population, they just wanted to probably be left alone. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. That was pretty prevalent in what I saw as well. The people were very hospitable. You know, like anything, there's extremists that take Christianity too far, or whatever religion and try to use it for power or for dominance or whatever it is that they can do to benefit themselves. But the majority of people want to work and provide for their families and raise their kids and leave behind a legacy of to their family, and that's how they were. And when accidents happen, which they did, and innocent people are killed because they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time during a war, it was tragic and it was sad for us as well.
So when it comes to the bad guys now, what are your rules of engagement in a situation like this? Because like you said, you're looking for people who are planting bombs. They're not just walking down the street with AKs firing into buildings, right? So how are you told, like, if you see X, you are automatically clear to engage? What did you need to see before you could take a shot at someone?
Well, the ROEs kind of changed. They were dynamic, right? They weren't set, and it would change with whatever regimental commander came in, or a lot of times the enemy TTPs or their tactics and procedures. And so, based off of what they were doing, most of it was IEDs. So there was a time where if you're digging in the road, you're going to get shot. A shovel on the side of the road is green light, put him down. They weren't walking around with AKs because that was another one. AKs had mostly been taken away. A lot of them were, for a while when we were doing the raids, you could have one AK per household and it had to stay in your home. You couldn't be patrolling around the village with your weapon, but you could keep it for home defense. So if you saw anybody with a weapon, it was pretty much a green light unless they were in a uniform. Um, and so that was most of it, mostly it, like looking for people. And they learned the ROEs real quick too, because if yesterday they could dig in the road and today they can't, so one dude's head explodes and the whole village knows don't dig in the road, right? Um, and
It
so
makes perfect sense. Yeah.
yeah, right.